Hey guys, this is another inbox review of a well-known, well, it was a less well-known supersonic airliner. It was one of the two that actually got into service. One, obviously, as we all know, was Concorde, and it was its sister, which was the tupolev Tu144 D Charger, or as NATO called it. This actual aircraft flew around about 69 days before Concorde's first flight, but it wasn't as successful. Reason being was in 1973, when it was performing at the Paris Air Show, it came out of a steep dive, and the airframe had so much stress on it, it basically disintegrated in mid-air. And both the crew were all the crew were killed, and unfortunately the people who were underneath the path of it were also killed as well. So that held the program up for a few years because it was well on track to be the first commercial airline to go supersonic. I don't think when it went into service it actually did, because of the routes it was on. And when it did go into service, it was about a year after Concorde's first flight, commercial flight, in 1977. And in 1978, all 16 aircraft were withdrawn from service because of the fuel crisis. However, one did go back into the air between 1994 to 96 in coalition with NASA. Because they were looking at further developments for supersonic flights. But obviously the aircraft has now since been grounded. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to the review of this kit. The kit here is in 1/144th. Would look lovely alongside Concorde, which I'm going to get at some later stage. This actual kit only came out about a year or two ago, and as soon as it did, I actually snapped it up. As you can see from the illustration on the box, it's actually as if it's in supersonic flight mode with its droop snoop up, and the only airline that ever had it was Aeroflot, which was the national airline. Okay. The kit number, if you're interested in getting hold of one, is 04871, guys. That's 04871. On the side of the box, you've actually got illustrations of the kit assembled, which must admit does look rather nice. And then you've got a little bit about the history on the other side of the box. Okay. As is per usual, this is a side opening box, but for the benefit of this video, I've already taken the instructions out and left the side assemblies on the side here. Okay. The instruction sheet actually starts with an assembly of the actual kit itself on the front, which looks rather nice with its canards down. This was actually used in regard to reducing the drag of the aircraft when it actually came into land. Okay, and then you've actually got a history about the aircraft, which you see there. Same old with revealed instructions about what to do before assembling the kit, etc. And you've got all the icons there. Okay, and then you've got your colour callouts on the next page here. Okay. Right, then you've got the sprue tree for all the kit parts, so you can ensure that you've got everything there. Okay, and then obviously you've got the option of having it in flight with its droop snoot up in supersonic mode, or on the ground with the canards down. Alright, next is the first stage of the assembly, if I can turn the page, where you assemble the fuselage with some of the plastic clear parts for the passenger windows. Now I am only actually going to use Humbrol crystal clear for that, because I think it's just too much hassle trying to mask those windows when it comes to painting. And then the next part is where you add the rudder to the tailplane and basically add weight at the front of the aircraft, because obviously if you don't, this is going to be a tail sitter. And then there's some instructions about removing some parts from the kit which aren't necessary. Okay, and that's from the engine bays as well as the, yeah, don't know what that's about, but there you go. Then you put the rudder, and then you put the elevator to the lower part of the wing, and then add the canards onto the elevator. and the same with the other side. And then you've got to drill some holes in the lower part of the wing for, I think, the engines to fit on. Then assembly of the wing halves, then the is that the intakes? I think that might be the intakes for the engines, which are at the front of the aircraft. Okay, and then if you want it in flight in ground mode, I think you had to add that part of the air undercarriage assembly. And then there's the tail assembly of the actual back of the engines, which you see there. And then you can add the detail of the fan blades to the front of the engine as well. Alright. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Then you've got assembly of the engines to the fuselage to the wings, then the assembly of the front of the canopy to the front of the fuselage, and the nose. And this is basically if you want the aircraft in flight mode with the canards in. Okay, and assembly of the front nose wheel. Okay, as you see there, and then obviously assembly of the main bogies and the undercarriage bay doors, and obviously you've got the rear tail wheel which goes there. And this is the assembly of it if you want it in ground mode with the droop snoop down and the canards out. Okay. And you can have it assembled to the stand which you see there if you want it in flight mode, but it's entirely up to you. Okay, and then finally you've got the colour cook plan which you see there of the only airline that ever flew it, which was Aeroflot, which is the national Russian airline. And then the interesting thing is you've got the tinted windows with a decal. So that'd be quite handy if you don't. It says there's nothing in the inside, and then obviously you've got the option of building one of the 16 aircraft that flew. Okay. Right, moving on to the main assemblies. This is one of the engine intakes, which you see there, or the outtakes. Okay, there you go. And these are the fuselage halves. Again, I don't know if I can get it in the right light. If I can get it right, you've got some very subtle panel details on the on the actual fuselage. There you go. Can you see it? There you are. That's a nice touch. And then you've got the upper wing. Again, there's some very subtle panel details there. So come out nice with a wash. And then you've got the two nose halves, which you see there. And the thing I like about this, you've got the speed indicators on the tail planes there on the rudder. Beautiful. And then obviously you've got the fan blades for the air intakes, which you see there, which is a nice touch. Okay, and that's your undercarriage with it up. Okay. And then there's the canards. I think that is part of where the undercarriage goes. I'm not sure. Ah, no, that's where the wings go, I think. So that's those. And then obviously you've got the lower part of the engines, which you see there. Again, you've got some very subtle panel line details there, which I think you can see. I don't know if you can get it. If I can get it in the light, you can see. And then there's all your wheels for the main bogies. And then there's part of the engine assembly there and the lower wing. Again, you've got some lovely subtle panel details there. And then this is obviously your clear parts, which is part of the canopy, which you see here. And that's for your droop snoops. You want the nose wheel if you want it up. And there's your stand and your clear passenger windows there. Alright. Last but not least, obviously, excuse me, is your decal sheet. Beautifully printed details on here. You've even got the stencils and obviously the tinted windows, because that used to cut the glare out when it was in supersonic flight, and obviously with the heat that was generated. And I just love how clear these decals are. Even got the hammer and sickle, which you see there for the actual national flag. It is beautifully produced decal sheet, I have to say. And obviously you've got the option of doing, I think, all the 16 aircraft. Okay. I don't know what they're going to bed down like, because I haven't actually tried them yet. But I'm sure they're pretty good. And that, my friends, is the Revell Tu144 D Charger. an unusual subject, but a nice one that would go by any of your Concords if you built one. And I would guarantee, go out and get one, guys. It's a lovely kit. Anyway, until then, get kit crazy, happy modelling, and I'll see you on the next review.